Every December, the hills of Nagaland come alive. Drums echo across valleys, colors flood the landscape, and for 10 days, Kisama becomes the cultural heartbeat of an entire state. The Hornbill Festival, often called the Festival of Festivals, draws the world's attention to Nagaland. But beyond the spectacle and celebration, a deeper question remains. What does the Hornbill Festival really say about Nagaland today? It is easy to see the festival as a grand event, a calendar attraction, a gathering of crowds, cameras, and culture. But for Nagaland, Hornbill is much more than that. It is a mirror, a conversation between past and present, a statement of who the Nagas are and who they are becoming. 1. Origins and purpose. The Hornbill Festival was born in the year 2000, initiated by the government of Nagaland, at a time when the state was still largely known to the outside world through headlines of isolation and conflict. The vision behind the festival was simple, yet ambitious: to bring together the many tribes of Nagaland, to celebrate a shared heritage without erasing differences, and to invite the world to witness cultures that had long lived quietly in the hills. Nagaland is home to many tribes, each with its own language, customs, festivals, and worldview. For generations, these identities thrived within villages and clan boundaries. The Hornbill Festival created a common platform, a space where diversity could be displayed side by side, not in competition, but in conversation. The festival takes its name from the great Indian hornbill, a bird deeply woven into Naga folklore, songs, and symbols, seen as a sign of beauty, courage, prosperity, and unity. Just as the hornbill flies across forests and hills, the festival was meant to carry Naga identity beyond borders, without losing its roots, without diluting its meaning. From the beginning, Hornbill was not meant to be entertainment alone. It was an act of cultural assertion, a declaration that Nagaland would tell its own story, in its own voice. 2. A grand showcase of culture. Walking through the Hornbill Festival feels like stepping into a living museum. But unlike a museum, nothing here is silent or still. Each tribe, Angami, Ao, Sumi, Konyak, Lotha, Chakasang, Pochuri, Rengma, Kayamniungan, Sangtam, Yimkiung, and many others, brings its own songs, attire, rituals, and memories woven together in color, rhythm, and sound. The traditional morungs stand like gateways to another time, spaces where young people once learned values, discipline, courage, and community. Places where stories were passed orally, where history lived through memory rather than books. Here, tradition is not frozen behind glass. It moves, it sings, it dances. Every beat of the drum carries echoes of migration. Every warrior dance remembers protection and survival. Every folk song carries stories of harvest, love, loss, and belonging. For many young Nagas, this is also a place of rediscovery, a chance to reconnect with practices they may only know through fragments. For elders, it is a moment of affirmation that what they preserved has not disappeared. The Hornbill Festival becomes a bridge between generations, between villages, between memory and modern life. 3. A modern festival for a modern Nagaland. But Hornbill is no longer only about preservation. In just 2 decades, it has transformed into a symbol of a changing Nagaland. Beyond the traditional huts, you now find rock concerts that stretch late into the night, fashion runways where tradition meets reinvention, film screenings that document unheard stories, photography exhibitions that frame everyday life as art, and startup stalls that speak the language of entrepreneurship. Bamboo instruments share space with electric guitars. Traditional shawls walk alongside modern silhouettes. Ancient motifs find new expression in contemporary design. This blend is not accidental. It reflects a generation negotiating its identity, young, confident, connected to the world, yet deeply aware of where it comes from. Hornbill today shows a Nagaland that refuses to choose between tradition and modernity. Instead, it holds both, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in tension. It is a reminder that culture is not static. It evolves. It adapts. It speaks differently to each generation. 4. Tourism, economy, and global reach. What began as a cultural gathering has grown into a global attraction. From a few thousand visitors in its early years, The Hornbill Festival now draws tens of thousands from across India and the world. Hotels fill, homestays open their doors. Local taxis, guides, artisans, and food vendors find opportunity. For many small entrepreneurs, these 10 days are more than celebration. They are livelihood, a crucial source of income, a chance to turn skill into sustenance. Artisans sell hand-woven textiles, wood carvings, jewelry, and crafts. Musicians find new audiences. Local food finds new appreciation. The festival has also helped reshape how Nagaland is seen, moving away from narratives of conflict and remoteness towards creativity, hospitality, and cultural confidence. Hornbill places Nagaland firmly on the cultural map, not as a curiosity, but as a contributor to India's diversity and to the global conversation on Indigenous identity. 5. Identity, unity, and representation. At its core, the Hornbill Festival is about identity. Nagaland is home to many tribes, distinct languages, customs, and histories, sometimes divided by geography, sometimes by memory. Yet every year, they gather at Kisama, stand side by side, and present themselves not as fragments, but as parts of a larger whole. The festival quietly makes a powerful statement. That unity does not mean sameness, it does not erase difference, it honors it. Standing together at Hornbill, Nagas reaffirms who they are, to each other, to the nation, and to the world. It becomes a space of representation, where Indigenous voices are not spoken for, but speak for themselves. 6. Reflections. What it says about Nagaland. Today, the Hornbill Festival reflects a Nagaland that is dynamic and self-aware, a society aware of its challenges, yet confident in its strengths. It shows a place where identity is not fixed, but constantly negotiated, between memory and ambition, between tradition and change, between the village and the global stage. It shows a society learning to tell its own story, on its own terms, without apology, without exaggeration. Each December, that story is performed, questioned, and celebrated, not just for visitors, but for Nagaland itself. Hornbill becomes a moment of pause, a time when the state looks at itself and asks, who are we and where are we going? The Hornbill Festival is not just an event. It is a reflection of pride and progress, of preservation and possibility. It is tradition in conversation with change, a reminder that cultural identity, when held with honesty, can become the foundation of growth. This is the Hornbill Festival. This is Nagaland today. Please check into this channel after some few days. Next on Grassroots Lens, we will also analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Hornbill Festival. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share for more documentary videos at the grassroots level.